Hey YouTube, welcome to my new channel. My brush has been soaking for about a minute now. We're just going to squeeze out some of this water. Now we can load our brush. If you find you're not getting enough foam, add a few drops of water. But there's going to be a point where you'll be adding too much water and you'll get bubbles. You don't want bubbles, you want this to look like whipped meringue. Now it goes to my already warmed scuttle to keep warm. As you know, it's called the modern shaver. I want to talk about shaving. What type of shaving? I want to talk about wet shaving. I'm just getting ready for my shave right now, and I'm going to do that while I talk to you. I'm going to be using a straight razor. Before I get started, I need to put hot towel on my face. For some of you who know me, know that I'm a wet shaver. I've been wet shaving for about 8 years, almost 10 years I guess. During that time, I've restored many straight razors. I've also become a home meister, so I can sharpen straight razors as well as kitchen knives. I don't make knives, but I do know how to sharpen them. So my skin is ready to receive my lather. One tool that I use for straight razor shaves is a simple sponge. When I'm taking off that lather, I can just take it off using this soft sponge. At the barbershop they'll use a cloth, and you can use a cloth too, but I like the sponge more because it's got a soft edge here, and that allows me to clean off my blade a lot easier. And you want it dry, you don't want it wet. So let's get started. A lot of guys will call this their shave of the day. And for us wet shavers, it's the only time we ever really get to show off our equipment. And if you're like me, it takes you just as long to prep the shot and get your camera in position as you would spending time enjoying the shave. Just to let you know, I'm using a Diablo Pro. Now when you use a straight razor, you want to make sure that your hands are dry, because if they're wet, you're going to lose that blade, and if it hits something, then chances are you're going to chip it. I've had many razors come to me with chipped tips or somewhere in the middle where it's chipped. If it's chipped in the middle, it's pretty hard to repair. If it's chipped on the tip, you can always take it off somehow, grind it off, and then rehone it. But if it's in the middle, it's pretty hard to repair, just to let you know from a repair standpoint. So I'm going to do 3 passes. The first pass is called with the grain pass, and you're going to go downwards because your beard grows downwards. And then second pass will be a sideways pass, which is either towards the ear or away from the ear. And the third pass will be upwards, which is called against the grain. And with each pass, we're going to re-lather. Now it's important to stretch the skin. When you stretch the skin, the hairs pop up, and then you cut it. And when you let the skin go, the hair pops back down. And that's how you can get a really smooth shave using a straight razor. You can also do the same using a safety razor, but it's not as fun in my opinion. Just another word about this razor here. This is called a French tip. It's an 8/8, so 8/8 inch or 1 full inch straight razor. We use we measure everything in inches from the spine to the blade. And you'll hear 6/8 inches, 7/8 inches. Well, this is an 8/8 inch blade. For me personally, my toughest parts to shave would be right along the jawline here. Because I have a square jaw. I don't have a round face or a roundish jaw, so it's harder to shave right here. So that's where I need to be careful. And if you're like me, that's your pressure point. Now I'm going to switch hands because I want to be able to shave this side, and I can't do it very well using my right hand. I'll see if I can do it this way, using the lens as my mirror. Fortunately, the little screen here is a little too far for me to see, so I'm going to have to go back to my mirror. So if you're new to wet shaving and don't really know what it is, let me explain that to you. Wet shaving is the traditional way of shaving that has been around for hundreds of years. can't remember the exact dates, but I think it was the early 1900s. That was when we had our first safety razor created by Gillette. So now I'm doing my second pass, which is called the sideways pass. So wet shaving's been around for a long time. When they started to be able to create metals, they were able to then fashion a tool to shave with. And I always hold my razor like this. Stays in this, the razor stays in this position, and I just adjust my hands accordingly. So that's up, that's down, sideways. But this doesn't move and this doesn't move. The tail hair is to assist in holding the razor. So my pinky and my ring finger are always around that. My middle finger and my ring finger hold the scale, and my first finger and my thumb hold the blade. If you look at what's available on eBay or at the antique flea markets, the majority of straight razors will be Sheffield or Solingen, Germany. That's how we used to shave, and that's basically what wet shaving is. You make your own lather, you sharpen your own blade, you never throw it out unless it got rusted or it got dented, in which case you would replace it. But most people would have one straight razor, one brush, chunk of soap, and a leather strop. This one has back coating, which is linen, and is coated with wax, and that cleans off the blade for me before I strop it. I'll get into strops and all that another day. But back to what I was saying. So straight razors became popular among men because that was what they had to use. Back then, barbers were really popular because most people didn't want to handle a straight razor. They were called cutthroats for a reason. So barbers were known to not just cut your hair, but to give you a straight razor shave. And recently there's been a revival, which I think is awesome. And what I will be doing is interviewing a bunch of barbers around town. Let me know what your favorites are. Maybe I can give them a call and see if we can do a special interview with one of those barbers. I'll be doing product reviews as well, and if there's anything that you want to see, let me know. How about soap reviews? If you owned a straight razor in the early 1900s and you needed it sharpened, you would take it to somebody called a homemeister, which is somebody who sharpens blades. And that's something that I do as well. I enjoy doing it. It's kind of a zen moment for me to bring a dull razor back to what it should be. And if you can get a BBS shave from a straight razor, it's one of the coolest feelings in the world, especially if you've done it yourself. So I'm going against the grain and it's fairly smooth right now. Then Gillette was smart enough to create something called a double-edged safety razor. No longer were you worried about cutting your throat, because this safety razor, I'll see if I have one here. Perfect. See if I can get you close up here. This was the first razor that Gillette made, but it was shaped like this. And it took a double-edged blade, and you would screw it off and take it apart, put your blade in and put it back together. And there was no fear about slitting your throat, because it was a lot harder to do that with these so-called safety razors. And when Gillette first came out with these safety razors, people were still using their bricks of soap to make the lather. Somewhere along the way they decided, hey, let's put this lather into a canister. And that's how we get goop in a can. But let's look at the math here. A disposable razor blade head today. Now, I was at Costco a while back, and I think it works out to be about $2 each. Well, how long is that $2 head going to last you? In my case, it lasts maybe a week. I don't have a thick beard. For some fellows, it might last them a couple of days. I got into straight razor shaving because I got tired of paying for those disposable blades. And I got tired of polluting our environment with disposable blades. So I got into straight razors. Well, I got into safety razors first. But what really sparked my interest was remembering my grandfather using a straight razor and a strop to shave. And I thought, hey, that's pretty neat. I can save some money and save the environment. And that got me on my journey. So that's how I got into wet shaving, pretty much. So going back to the math, a $2 head, I believe you got to buy them in packs of 5. So that's like $10 to $12 for a pack of disposable heads, which might last you a month, 2 months max. Well, guess what? For a package of double-edged safety razor blades, I believe it costs $2, $2 to $5, and you get 10 of them. So you're looking at 20 cents for a shave, 20 cents for a blade, and if that blade lasts you a week, then obviously you're saving a lot of money. The initial investment is just in the head, but guess what? You can get something like... Sorry about that. My battery died, so I had to go and replace it and get myself a drink. So I was saying, the initial investment of a safety razor, you can find these on eBay, at your flea market, antique shop. Maybe your neighbor might even have one. $10. You might need to clean it off with a toothbrush or whatever, but I'll show you videos on how to do that. Let me know what you want to see. I'm excited to bring you whatever topics you want to hear about on this channel. The problem with owning one straight razor is that if you're a serious wet shaver like me, one isn't enough. Once you got the bug bite, it's endless. You'll be hunting it down, and if you're like me, you'll be wanting to restore straight razors, and that's a wonderful hobby in itself. So at this point, I'm just gonna feel my face just to make sure I've done all my passes. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, for those of you that might be afraid of using a straight razor or haven't even used one for the first time, you just got to be careful. You need a steady hand. Don't go shaving or don't use a straight razor if you're in a rush. Don't use it if you're stressed. Don't use it if you have kids running around. That might bump you, because chances are you're gonna nick your face. Make sure you're relaxed in a quiet room with nobody around you to bump you, and make sure that you're not pressured for time, because your first few shaves might take you 15-20 minutes. This shave just took me 10 minutes. I can do the same thing with the straight razor in half that time, maybe even quicker, but I was also talking. And when you're finish using your straight razor, you need to clean it off, obviously. So I'll show you how I clean mine. I just basically wipe it with some paper towel. I don't touch the edge of the blade. Not paper towel, tissue, sorry. I am going to rinse it with hot water, but I only wet the tip. I don't want to get water in here, because that's going to cause corrosion over time. And I'm wiping it from the spine to the edge of the blade. That way it'll damage the really super sharp edge of the blade, the cutting edge. Now what I'm going to do is take it back to my strop, put it on the linen side first to clean it off and dry it, and then on the leather to finally clean it off and remove any oxidation that might have built up on the edge. Sorry, I'm out of focus there. So that's important. You want to do that before you put it away, and make sure that it's nice and dry, because if it's not dry when you put it away, chances are you might get rust on it, especially if it's carbon steel, and you don't want that on a carbon steel blade. A couple of final steps in your shaving regimen that you want to follow. After you finished your shave, you want to take a cold towel this time, not a hot towel, but a cold towel, and that helps ensure that you don't get ingrown hairs. And that's important for people who get a lot of ingrown hairs. And for men, that can be quite frustrating when you have an ingrown hair somewhere and then you shave it and you wind up getting some of that skin nicking your skin. So I'll be talking about straight razors, soaps, safety razors, show you my collection over time. I'll show you how to repair things, how to sharpen straight razors, how to sharpen kitchen knives if you want. I really want to start interviewing some of the local barbers here. Like, did you know that we can now drink beer in the barbershop? That's amazing. Can't wait to do that. I need a model. Who wants to come with me to the barbershop? So after I've rinsed off my brush, what I want to do is shake it, and I'm going to blot it with the towel. when you put a brush away, you want it to be in this position so that the moisture drips this way, downwards. If you put it this way, it could work, but it's not ideal. It would cause the bristles to kind of move downwards. But this is the worst way, because what happens is the moisture builds up there, it collects there, and you get bacteria. That's not good, especially if this is going on your face. So that's the ideal position for storing a shaving brush. And by the way, this is what we call badger hair. Now I'll get into shaving brushes in another episode. After I finish with the cold towel and my skin has dried off. What I want to do is put on some aftershave. And I like Old Spice. You can use whatever you want. You can use a balm. But this works for me. I like the smell. I'm going to use this moisturizer as well. There we go. Good as new. So thanks for joining me on this first episode of Modern Shaver. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you like this video, please subscribe. Feel free to share, and please like the video. It's my first video. Forgive me if things kind of took longer than expected, but hopefully I'll be able to speed things up as we progress. Thank you very much and have a great day. One tool that I use for straight razor shaves